All right, welcome everybody to another reaction video. I am going to continue my search, my foray into country music. I will return to other types of music as my reactions. I'm also doing trailers now. I'm trying to react to a lot of things. I have also recently done an analysis and reaction to the TV show, the popular TV show, which I love, Queen's Gambit. So check that out if you're interested. I will also be doing poetry as well, discussions as I've always done, but I'm trying this new, these new reactions. And this is my first foray into country as a serious, let me see if I can really enjoy this. Country is new to me, even though I lived in Texas. So it's new to me in terms of I always avoided, try listening to it. I came from California and I'm not a big music person really, to be perfectly honest. So it's all kind of, so when I react to it, whether I like something or don't like something, don't get offended. Remember, I'm a music fool. I don't know anything about music. I enjoy some classical music, but mostly my tastes are pretty mundane and like poppy stuff that I just don't get a lot of it. I read a lot of fiction, a lot of literature, classic literature. That's, I'm the editor of Troubadour Mag. And so my goal is to try to, get a better feel for these different genres that people today tend to love. And country is one of them. And I also have heard, of course, that country is, very heavy into stories, and I love stories. So we'll see what they have to offer. Okay. So today the reaction comes from, is recommended by Rosemary Cole. So thank you, Rose, for your recommendation. And she says, my first time watching your reaction, I'm a George Strait fan, so my first reaction in country was George Strait. But what hooked me was your encouragement to read. I'm a lifelong reader, thanks to my dad. My rewards for good behavior was books. If you like the storytelling, try Alan Jackson. I suggest either Remember When, Drive, or Home. Writes most of his songs. I guess she means he writes most of his songs. So I'm going to try Alan Jackson in the song Remember When. Now, my assumption is it's going to be some kind of nostalgic song, but I've never heard of it. Alan Jackson sounds familiar, but I don't really know him very well either. So let's give this a shot. Alan Jackson, Remember When. I can already hear the lyrics in it. Dun, dun, remember when.
Remember when I was young and so were you, and time stood still, and love was all we knew. You were the first, so was I, who made love and then you cried. Remember when. Remember when we vowed the vows and walked the walk and gave our hearts, made the start and it was hard. We lived and learned life through curves. There was joy, there was hurt. Remember when.
Okay, I apologize for pausing, but I keep getting hit with copyright, so I want to give it the pauses. But I wanted to say I can hear the story already developing. So obviously this is, a first love, they get married, and then there's some pain going on. So interesting. There we go. I mean, we've heard that story before, but it's a good song.
Remember when
they're old.
Old ones died and new were born, and life was changed. Disassembled, rearranged. We came together, fell apart, and broke each other's hearts. Remember when. Remember when the sound of little feet was music? We danced to week, brought back the love. We found trust, vowed we'd never give it up. Remember when? Remember when 30 seems so old now, looking back. It's just a stepping stone to where we are, where we've been. Said we'd do it all again. Remember when? Remember when we said when we turn gray, when the children grow up and move away, we won't be sad, we'll be glad for all the life we've had. And we'll remember when. Remember when. Remember when.
All right. Interesting. So, yeah, I mean, that was a cute song. I enjoyed that. I have to say where my mind goes is so first off, when I first started hearing, I thought it was going to be a breakup song. So, I was thinking about Remember When we were first loved, but apparently, but then it seemed to like go into, it's a story about marriage. And then even then he goes into talking about old age. And so really what he's doing is, I think he's just giving people who are, a little bit later stage in life, and they use that phrase, remember the when, with people they know, with brothers, sisters, with loved ones, with, in particular with the wife. And they say that phrase and they're reflecting and recollecting their life. And so my first instinct was that it was a breakup, or a song where a guy is remembering when he was in love, but it broke his heart. And he does talk about heartbreak, which is of course part of things, or part of life. And so it made me think of a poem by Lord Byron. And let me pull this up. So I think I'm kind of off on this. When I started hearing more of it, I think it may not be quite this, but there is a semblance of where there's a connection here to some degree. And the idea of, remembering your past, but also remembering that it is something you can't actually live again. And so it is only something living in your memory. Now, I think with Alan Jackson, he is doing he's doing an incredible marketing job. So as someone who is interested in marketing, I found that amazing, because he's basically giving a emotional voice to a feeling that everybody of a certain age is going to feel. And so his demographic is really going to touch with that. And of course, this is a huge song, hundreds of millions of views just on YouTube, and who knows how many millions and millions of listens and people slow dancing to it. So it's, it's a genius marketing job. I know that's not what you may come here for to enjoy, but I found that really smart. It reminds me of like someone who makes a popular song about Fridays, right? And it's like, so you listen to it every Friday, or Closing Time, which is a great song, of course, but it's genius marketing, because every time you close down, you play that song. And, so like it kind of represents that emotion or that experience really well. And so people play it whenever they experience that. So anyway, that's a kind of an aside here. I just wanted to read this. Maybe it's been a while since I've read this poem. I used to have it memorized, but I am slipping in life and I need to get back into it. But it is, let's see if you can You know what? Let me switch this up. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to change it, make it a little easier for you to see. So this is called So We'll Go No More A Roving, and by Lord Byron. And again, I think you're going to see some differences, but there might be some similarities. So let's check it out. It's a short poem by Lord Byron, written in the early 1800s. He's a romantic poet. So we'll go no more a roving, so late into the night, though the heart be still as loving, and the moon be still as bright. For the sword outwears its sheath, and the soul wears out the breast, and the heart must pause to breathe, and love itself have rest. Though the night was made for loving, and the day returns too soon, yet we'll go no more a roving by the light of the moon. You know, when I first read this poem, I had and thought of it as purely a breakup poem, right, as well. And I think, you know, I read it right after a big breakup in my life years and years ago. And it was, you know, so it really kind of moved me in that sense, where the idea that we'll no more go roving, you know, that there's still love there, but we're not going to, you know, experience that love together anymore. But, you know, I've thought of it as, and this kind of happened as I read more or listened of the Alan Jackson song just now, and kind of looked at how he's talking about old age. He's talking about, you know, he shows grandparents, and he talks about, like, it seems like he's just talking about the concept of remembering in the past, right? And not just necessarily this one singular story of breakup or, you know, getting married and looking back. It's the totality of the emotional experience of remembering when and doing that action of remembering when. And there is, I think, and even in the Alan Jackson song, Remember When, some idea that, you know, part of what's happening is he's lost, you know, they're not as young as they were, right? Which is obvious, but they don't have the energy, the power, the resonance. They're you know, they don't have the energy to do also what they did in the past. But of course, they still love each other. So we'll go no more a roving, so late into the night, though the heart be still as loving and the moon be still as bright. So, you know, they are not going to be going roving as much anymore. Now, you could take that as a breakup, or maybe just life is moving on is another way to take that on, right? Is the heart, we still love each other, and the moon is still bright, right? Moon representing, you know, nightly escapades, but maybe I just hit my keyboard, but maybe we're not as excited, you know, as energetic as we used to be. And we're kind of thinking about, we're, you know, looking at that emotion. And the next stanza is, for the sword outwears its sheath, right? So the sword gets tired itself, like, so, and the soul wears out the breast. So even if you're an excited, enjoying life, passionate young person, even that kind of comes to a somewhat of a standstill as you get older. Lord Byron died at 33, and he probably wrote this only a few years before that. So he's experiencing this at a very early age, right? Alan Jackson talks about how in your 30s, that you think that's old at the time, but it's just a stepping stone. And this is, you know, I think Byron thinking of it as, you know, he's old. And the heart must pause to breathe, and love itself have rest, right? So when you're young, or when you get older, even love needs to take a little bit of a breather. You can't be super passionate 24/7, 365. You just turned on to 11 all the time. You need to kind of calm down a little bit. And that happens as you age. Though the night was made for loving, and the day returns too soon, yet we'll go no more roving by the light of the moon. And I think for me, that's also why I look at it as kind of a breakup poem. Although I don't think that's what Byron was going for exactly. But that's a different story. We have to get into his history, you know, but so though the night was made for loving and the day returns too soon, yet we'll go no more a roving by the light of the moon. So it's kind of like, we're not going to do this anymore. But it also could be like they are lovers in the moonlight. And, you know, again, he's reflecting about how he's leaving, you know, the day is coming and they're not going to be able to rove anymore. And part of that is like life experience, age is coming. That's another way. Now, I don't know if, again, I don't think there's a one-to-one connection between Alan Jackson's song remember when in that poem. But I think there are some thematic similarities, some emotional, experiential similarities. So I hope you enjoyed that. So thank you for watching and keep the comments coming. I appreciate them.